In less than 72 hours, the people of Osun State, about 72 hours if you will, the people of Osun State will make a decision as to who they will elect to, govern the state for the next 4 years. About 10 to 14 persons are vying for that office, including the incumbent. And it's been the biggest conversation because it's the last off-cycle election just before the general election. So it's a test game for everyone, INEC, civil society organizations, and even the police and the electoral law, although it's been tested in Ekiti. We're going to focus on that today on the program. But first, other things have happened around the country. We'll bring you up to speed with all of them. Let's get started with the headlines. Welcome to the program. I'm Jeffrey Uzonga. Former President Olusegun Obasanjo, former President Goodluck Jonathan, NDC presidential candidate Peter Obi posit on how Nigerian democracy can be strengthened through institutions. Nigerian police invite Senator Francis Fadahunsi over inflammatory, violent rhetoric in Osun State. He says he was misquoted. Thanks again for joining us on the program that helps you keep track on what's playing out in politics and in the polity. Essentially, at midday, we try to binge through a lot of stories, focusing on the biggest highlights, whilst we are all focused on what's playing out in Osun State ahead of Saturday, which channels television is going to be on ground to help you follow that election from the very point the polling unit opens to the announcement of the eventual winner. We will be bringing you all of that live right here on channels television. But while that is going on, we've been tracking other events around the country. This time, the former president of Nigeria, Olusegun Obasanjo, has called for a rethink of Africa's democracy, stating that it needs to reflect African context, especially its history, its culture, and even its values. The elder statesman questions whether democracy adopted by African countries has delivered the expected dividends to the people, despite the failures of key arms of government. He spoke at the 2026 Goodluck Jonathan Foundation Democracy Dialogue held in Bauchi State, which brought together dignitaries across the African countries, across the African continent. And some of the remarks also was done by the man who hosted the event, Goodluck Jonathan, the former president, as well as the NDC presidential candidate. Let's listen to them.
Let us not deceive ourselves. There's nothing like African democracy. What purpose does it serve that when millions of people are voted, then 5 people will come to decide either in favor or against the decision of millions of people? Is that democracy?
I went to Court of Appeal. 5 judges that never met gave judgment in my favor. So if you look at that and look at what is happening today in Nigeria, where professors are now aiding illiterates to rig election, where our lawmakers have removed forgery as an offense in electoral matter. As senior advocates of Nigeria are defending forgery.
In Switzerland, there is no one person that is the overall boss at any particular time. You have few people that make up what I may describe as a presidential college. So no one person take a decision that affects the whole country. Any sensitive decision must be taken by all these people. And I know I hosted one of them when I was the vice president. I said that their forefathers believe that when one person has so much powers, it is dangerous to society.
Well, that was not all that was said at that very event, where different remarks about literally strengthening democracy in honor of the former president, Goodluck Jonathan, when he was talking about, the institutions. We also had Mr. Mikey Guinea, who was a former resident electoral commissioner, I think, in Akwa Ibom State and in Rivers State, and also had a jurist, a former justice of the Supreme Court of Nigeria, Justice Amina Oge, stressing the need for strong, independent institutions and credible electoral process.
That the first early sign of the subversion of democracy is the failure of the judiciary to stand tall and mighty in defense of democracy and the rule of law, because the greatest contribution of the Western world to attainable democracy is the idea of the rule of law, and that every law that governs a process must be adhered to. In our country here in Nigeria, I have said it clearly that if democracy will die in Nigeria, it will die because of we lawyers and our colleagues in the bench, and that the remains of democracy will be put at the doorstep of judiciary in our country, because historically they have never stood tall and mighty in defense of democracy and the rule of law. This is very key. Saving African democracy beyond the election will require that we must pay serious attention to the EMBs we have in Africa, the election management bodies. I say this because the arrogance of political office holders is based on the fact that they can control the EMB. Once you cut the source of supply of arrogance, they will be like lily pond.
Paradigm shift. Everybody, we have to shift in everything to realize, yes, the Constitution has given us power, yes, but we must operate within that power. There are limits to our power. What is within our circle, what we need to do, put your act together wherever it is. Let the political parties be able to practice democracy internally. Let the electoral bodies do their own bit to make sure that elections are free, fair. Then let the courts, when the matter has to go to court, because there's nothing we can do. The Constitution has allowed for it. What we all need to do is to make sure we have strong institutions. No, judiciary cannot save the democracy by itself. Political parties cannot do that by themselves. All other institutions cannot. Everybody needs to be standing to do what they have to do. But each one of us in each of our little cell will have to make sure we strengthen the institution, not personalities.
Well said by the Judex. Right there. Institutions is the only guarantee that democracy will survive. Personalities will come and go. Let's now head to Osun State, where the governor, Ademola Adeleke, has raised an alarm over what he describes as security concerns involving members and loyalists of his party, the Accord Party in the state. He was speaking to journalists in Osogbo, the government house, where he alleged that the police has received a directive to arrest some Accord Party members and leaders to take them to Abuja, where he says they will be detained until next week. The governor described the alleged move as illegal, claiming that some members of the party are already being held in what he calls unlawful police detention. The governor also raised concern over a viral social media video purportedly showing a serving senator, APC senator representing Osun East Senatorial District, Francis Fadahunsi, allegedly calling for the killing of Accord members and their families.
We have credible reports that a police signal has arrived in Osun directing immediate arrest of Accord Party leaders. We also know the directive includes that they should be taken to Abuja immediately and should not be released until Monday. I have spoken to the Inspector General of Police about the reported directive to arrest Accord Party leaders. But I am appealing to him that this, if this development is, if it is true, it is illegal and present Nigeria as a lawless country. Arresting Accord Party leaders on the eve of an election amount to police helping and assisting the APC Osun to rig the election. The second issue has to do with the viral video of a service senator, Francis Fadahunsi, who today called for the killing of Accord Party leaders and their families. In the video, the senator even threatened that where they cannot get Accord Party leaders, they should kill their wives and children. This is now beyond politics. This is now a national security threat that requires the attention of Mr. President through the Office of the National Security Advisor. I have raised this issue with the Inspector General of Police and demanded for the immediate investigation and arrest of Senator Fadahunsi.
Let's talk about the Senator, Francis Fadahunsi. He was on our program last night, our political program, where he said, describing what has been published online as misleading and deliberate attempt to misrepresent his statement. Let's listen to him.
Is it true that you have a killer squad?
Where is the killer squad? Where are the killer squad?
Where did you keep them? The allegation in town is that you have one.
Where? They don't have killer squad in this town. All the killer squad are in there. They are in the chief of staff's house. They are in the father's house. They are in Dupai's house. They are in the university of this thing. Okay, somebody terrorizing you will be shouting, will be crying. He can cry because it's a very terrible person. If it's a good governor,
you are talking about a governor here. That's the #1 citizen in your state, and you are speaking about him in this manner.
I know. If somebody does not behave like a father of all, and he said he's the father of Curtis, then he's not my governor. Please.
I mean, why is it that your party is worried or insecure, and you're thinking that you might lose this election, Senator? Is that the fear you are having?
Why are they shouting? Now that I've shouted that they should leave my people, and if they want to vote peacefully, they should do it. But if they don't want to vote peacefully, they should stop killing my people. Now he's afraid. Why is he afraid in Ede? You are keeping Ede in peace. You are destroying my own base. It is you to tell him that he should leave my own territory by district alone. Let us face the election.
Well, that's the senator trying to push back. Well, we're going to talk to the police in just a moment, but we understand he's been summoned by the police over that kill members of the rival party video that went online. He said it was misleading, was misquoted. When he was clarifying that, he said kill them with their votes. Well, people who understand Yoruba said nothing of such came close. But let's see whether we can get our guests joining in on the program right now. We're supposed to have the commissioner in charge of election, but for some reason, for the last minute, I don't know what happened. But let's see whether we can get in Okay, I understand the PPRO was so moved. Okay, but let's take a listen. This is the original video for those of you who don't understand Yoruba. Well, I don't know. We may come back to it, but he spoke in Yoruba. I'm talking about Senator Fadahunsi, about the fact that they should kill our court members, but he said he was saying kill them with your votes. But as soon as we get clarity on the PRO coming in, we'll get to further explain what exactly has been playing out as far as that invitation is concerned. Well, let's tell you how the Minister of Information and National Orientation Agency, Mr. Mohammed Idris, is calling for greater religious tolerance and unity among Nigerians, saying the country's diversity must be seen as a strength in the collective pursuit of peace and national development. He was speaking at the opening ceremony of an international conference on national security organized by the Muslim World League. The minister says Nigeria remains an interfaith nation where Christians and Muslims work together to confront the challenges threatening national cohesion.
The message is simple, that all of us need to come together, think as Nigerians, think as human beings, and then all of us need to work together irrespective of our colorations, our differences, so that we can act as one. Nigeria indeed at this time requires unity. We need further demonstration of unity for all of us to believe and to think as Nigeria. This is the only way to go. There is no time for differences there. And if in our fight against insecurity, if you have religious differences, of course it goes to exacerbate this problem. So the need for us to come together as one, as one people is important, and that is the message that we are taking away from this conference today.
Well, it's been a week of almost reckless rhetorics, if you will, in the last few days. With greatest respect from a sheikh who has gotten a lot of flack for some of his statements over calling people of other faith infidels, to the recent one by the senator who he said he was misquoted. And this is a build-up to the general election, which is just barely 5 months away. So that's why the word of caution is absolutely important. Security agencies, the police and the DSS, and everyone in charge of making sure that everybody behaves themselves must be up and doing in their responsibility, so that we don't put set our country in flames because of careless statement by people who you expect to know better. Those are the things we're expected to interrogate if we're able to get the police in on the program. But we'll take a break, and when we come back, continue the rest of the program. Stay with us. Welcome back. We hope to catch in with what's playing out in Osun State, as a matter of fact, because in just about in excess of 72 hours, the people of Osun State will be filing out to make a critical decision about their future who leads them. It's been almost 4 years since the leadership of Ademola Adeleke, and he's been making a case for his re-election, while others want his job, especially the candidate of the APC, Oyebamiji, who is one of the frontliners of this particular election. But let's touch in with our correspondent, Bukola Oriowo, who is in Osogbo, the Osun State capital, to bring us up to speed as to what we need to know in terms of the sights and sounds and preparations for the election. Bukola, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Hello, good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon.
As you can see behind me, preparations are in Togia almost everywhere we have visited. There's a heavy presence of security operatives in Osun State as we speak, especially in Osogbo, the state capital. We've seen a lot of military deployment, a lot of police. We've seen new checkpoints, more than we saw yesterday, coming up today, where they're stopping vehicles, asking questions for people coming into the state. Even people moving within the state, they stop you, they ask you what you are carrying in your vehicle and all that. And I think that is a result of the skirmishes and violent clashes that we have been hearing among the political parties, particularly between the Accord Party and the APC. Both parties have been shifting blames. You heard the governor yesterday during his press conference calling out Senator Fadahunsi for that viral video. And then a lot of things have been happening since then. We learned that the security operatives have invited him for a talk to know what exactly is ongoing. And I learned currently at the INEC office there's an ongoing meeting also with stakeholders, security operatives included, but it's a closed-door meeting. It's not open to the press. So we're going to know where we go from there presently when they are done with that meeting. But we also spoke to people around town to feel their pulse. And there's a critical point, on the heart of residents of Osun. They want peaceful election. They want credible election. They want free and fair election. They do not want to be intimidated. They do not want to be coerced to vote for who they do not want to vote for. They want their voices heard and their votes to count.
Yeah, Bukola, thank you so much for coming through. Before we let you go, just to keep you for a bit, I know where you are is a bit noisy, but we're able to pick a thing or two of what you're saying. But maybe help us establish where you are at the moment. We can see your background, but we're not sure where you are. But more importantly as well is for you to tell us, are the people scared? Is there a sense of anxiety? Is there a sense of worry? Because of every other day, there is one incident of violence and even killings.
Well, from those I've spoken to about 12 people today, across board. We've spoken to people from Media, we've spoken to people in Youtube, and they do not look scared, but they do not want the situation to escalate beyond this point, to the point where they will be scared to go to the polls. So they've all been calling federal and state government to collaborate to ensure that there is peace, on Saturday and even before then, because we know right now that Elisha, especially the sixth local government in Elisha, is like the place where you have a concentration of violence. And from what I learned from feelers I got, I think it stems from the fact that there are lots of people from the former party of the governor who are still in the PDP. Some have moved to the APC. So there's a lot of cross-carpeting amongst them that is actually causing this rift. And had that as violence and casualties to both sides. People want this to stop, and they believe heavily that a lot of it rests on security agents to do their job without bias, to make sure that no side suffers any more casualty going forward.
Yeah, you didn't tell us where you are, but I know I can see yellow caps. My assumption is, are you in the secretariat of a...
Okay. Yes, we actually got to the government house in about 15 minutes ago to see what's happening here. We've been to other places too. When we leave here, we also go to the APC secretariat to see what's ongoing. But this is the government house, Osun State. As you can see, yellow caps, like you said. I think they're about to hold a stakeholders meeting, and I'm sure that some of the things they'll be discussing has to do with the ongoing violence. Because I spoke with the Commissioner of Information earlier on, who also said that a lot of sensitization is ongoing to sensitize their members against violence and to make sure that they know what to do, even when confronted, to talk to security agents and the like.
Bukola, thank you so much to touch base with you. We understand, Bukola, that the Senator, Francis Fadahunsi, will be reporting to the police station, I think about 1 p.m. today. Do you have a confirmation to that?
Well, I have not confirmed to the time, but I learned that he's been invited and he has promised to make himself available. I don't know the time yet, but I'll get in touch with, the relevant authorities to actually know what exactly will happen.
Bukola, thank you so much for bringing us updates from Osogbo, the capital of Osun State, and I think that's the government house. Stay safe and thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right, so that's our correspondent, Bukola, who is in Osogbo to cover this election. So we said on Saturday, Channels Television is on ground to bring you up to speed with all the happenings as far as this particular election is concerned. So the candidates are ready, INEC say they are ready, the police say they are ready, but the politicians seem to be giving all of us a headache in terms of the big fights that are going on. And we understand stakeholders are actually meeting right now, everybody, to say, look, you have to shoot your sword. It's an election, it's not war. And we hope that we'll get a feedback as to how that stakeholder meeting plays out, as well as what will be the outcome of the interrogation of Senator Francis Fadahunsi, who made that inflammatory rhetoric, which he says he didn't mean the way it was interpreted. But that's it on the program. We'll keep base and touch down on Osun State as we continue the rest of the day's broadcast when necessary. I'm Jeffrey Uzonga. You've been served on Lunchtime Politics. Bye-bye.